The village of Aftabpur lay nestled in a valley where the air smelled perpetually of sun-baked earth and ripening grain. Here lived a farmer named Usman, a man whose hands were as calloused and dependable as the old oak tree by his well. Usman was a portrait of discipline. He lived by the proverb, "The reward for a duty is the peace of having completed it." But his son, Ali, was cast from softer clay. Ali was handsome, quick-witted, and utterly dominated by procrastination. The phrase that drifted from his lips on the lazy afternoon breeze, and which served as his life's guiding principle, was, "I will do it later." When his father asked him to collect the morning eggs or repair a fence post, Ali would simply stretch, enjoying the warm sun, and declare, "The work will wait. I will do this tomorrow." It was late autumn, and the family's future rested upon a single item, the largest, thickest sack of wheat, harvested with a season's hard labor. It represented their entire grain supply for the coming harsh winter. Usman, with weary reverence, carried the heavy sack into the cool, shadowed godown, a storage house built of thick stone that always smelled faintly of dust and dry straw. As he gently lowered the sack onto the smooth earthen floor, his keen eyes instantly caught a flaw. A tiny, almost invisible puncture at the base, barely the diameter of a dried pea, clearly gnawed by a field mouse. Usman called Ali, who was lying under the plum tree, watching the clouds drift. "Son," the farmer said, his voice calm but firm, "take this needle and this strong thread. Seal this tiny breach now. It will take you just 5 minutes. Do not delay, for a small negligence can grow into a great calamity." Ali barely moved. He squinted at the minuscule hole. "It's nothing, father," he yawned, lazily accepting the needle. "The grain isn't even spilling. I feel comfortable now. I'll spend just a few more moments resting. Or perhaps, I will surely attend to it tomorrow morning." Usman placed his hand on Ali's shoulder, his warning a heavy truth. "The laziness of 5 minutes, my son, may cost you 5 months of sustenance." But Ali, blinded by his own comfort, dismissed the prophecy and closed his eyes. That night, the valley was gripped by a sudden, fierce windstorm. The old godown groaned under the pressure, and the wind, searching for escape, whistled through every crack. The rush of air entering the tiny hole acted like a persistent, unseen tool, slightly stressing and fraying the fabric around the puncture. The opening was still tiny, but the breach had begun to yield. Deep in the shadows of the godown, a mouse, a resident dwelling inside the stone walls, stirred. It was not drawn by the scent of the grain, but by the subtle, unusual breeze and the vibration of the sack. The mouse investigated the draft and found the exposed edge of the wheat. Sensing an easy entry, it began its meticulous, patient work, gnawing the frayed fabric around the hole. Through the long, unforgiving hours of the night, while Ali slept soundly under his blanket, the mouse worked without hurry. Slowly, steadily, the grain began its silent, continuous pour onto the cool, hard floor. Drip by grain, the vital supply dwindled. Around dawn, the wind brought a sudden, violent downpour. A small, undetected leak in the godown's roof began dripping cold water directly onto the growing heap of spilled wheat. When Ali finally woke, yawning with a feeling of satisfaction for a rest well earned, he walked into the godown. He stopped dead. The sight was devastating. A huge, damp mound of spilled wheat lay on the floor, soaked and ruined by the leak. The sack itself, now hanging limp and deflated, had a large, ugly tear where the tiny hole had been. Nearly half the winter supply was gone. Ali fell to his knees, clutching handfuls of the soggy, wasted grain. His father arrived and stood silently, his face etched with sorrow. "Look, Ali," his father said, his voice gentle. "You delayed a 5-minute task because you thought it was insignificant. But that tiny hole, combined with your 5 hours of neglect, became an open invitation for ruin. You saw the work as small, but the risk was immense." Ali wept, understanding that the brief comfort he sought under the plum tree had cost him his family's security. He realized that the heaviest weight in life is not the work itself, but the burden of regret that comes from postponing it. The moral. The moral is a quiet, profound wisdom. Never underestimate the danger of a small neglect. The debt owed to procrastination is always paid with interest, and the comfort of "I will do it later" always comes at the highest possible price.